Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Chakshur Ena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadikamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Sri Rupam Sagajatam Sagana Raghunathan Yutam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parajan Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lita Shri Ushapan Yutamscha He Krishna Karana Sindho Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanja Kalpatarubhishta Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। So we are done up to the last class. We covered up to 22nd verse. So we'll continue from there. So we are currently discussing this section D, liberation through focusing one's consciousness on the super soul. We were studying the characteristics of an advanced devotee. So let's go to the verse 22. We looked at vision of the self-realized soul in the last few verses. So this verse 22, let's read through it. It's a very famous verse. ये हि संस्पर्शजा भोगा दुःखयोनाय एव ते आद्यन्तवन्त कौन्तेय मतेषु रमते बुधा। ये हि संस्पर्शजा भोगा. Samsparsha means bhoga. Samsparsha means getting in touch with material senses. So the verse translation is: an intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so the wise man does not delight in them. Yeah. So an intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery, which are due to contact with the material senses. So here, so the all the senses, all the pleasures that we experience in the material world are due to the experience of the contact between senses and sense objects. Right? Sense objects means, for example, the sweet is a sense object, tongue is the sense. So when sense comes in touch with the sense object, we experience the pleasure. So all the pleasures in this world are experienced through the senses when it comes in contact with the sense objects. So now here it is saying, so that kind of happiness, the happiness that is derived by the contact of the senses with the sense objects, an intelligent person does not take part in those kind of happiness because they are the sources of misery. How is it sources of misery? For example, if somebody tries to enjoy, overeating, he may end up becoming obese or may develop several diseases of the body, stomach, right? So like that, every sense object can, every sense can eventually lead us to actually experience some kind of miseries when we indulge overly in our pursuit for sense gratification, right? So why an intelligent person does not overindulge in that? because such pleasures have a beginning and end. For example, when you eat a sweet, there is a time when your happiness begins and there is a time when the happiness ends, right? It is not eating, eating a sweet will not give a permanent happiness. All the happinesses that we receive through the in the medium of sense objects, experienced through the senses, have a beginning and an end. Because they are temporary in nature, all these happinesses that we receive through the senses, that they are temporary in nature, a wise man does not take delight in them. So a wise man only look for the lasting happiness. Lasting happiness means happiness that is eternal, permanent, right? It's not temporary, or it's not dependent on the material conditions. Most of the happiness that we experience is based on our, our material conditions, right? For example, when you have no disease, no loans, no, hunger, we are happy, right? So that's how, because we are conditioned within the material world to be happy in that way. When the senses are satisfied, we are happy. Otherwise, we are miserable. But one should understand, actually, that is not the only way of happiness. That is the lowest level of happiness one can experience. This kind of happiness that we experience with the senses, when they come in contact with the sense objects, that is available even for the animals. Animals can also eat, animals can also mate, animals can also sleep and enjoy. So these happinesses that are available even for animals, those are not the only way, ways to become happy in this world. The higher level of happiness is not through the senses only. It is experienced at a higher level, which is at the spiritual level. When the spirit focuses, when the soul focuses on the Paramatma, when it gets in touch with the Paramatma, that is when it connects with the Paramatma, that's when the true happiness actually is experienced by the Jiva. Right? And that is possible within the human body. It's not possible in the lower species of life. Right? But if a human being, forgetting his potential to be happy spiritually, only hankers for the material happiness that is derived through the contact of senses with the sense objects, he is actually limiting what he can potentially achieve. Right? And his happiness is not more than what an animal can experience in this world. Right? So here, this verse is calling for us to actually pursue spiritual life, right? Because an intelligent person is not a person who can, materially intelligent, meaning how he can calculate and how he can analyze things and for his material benefit. That's not the case. An intelligent person is a person who can discriminate what is temporary and what is permanent. So he has a spiritual intelligence. Such a person does not take so much happiness in the happiness that is experienced through the senses in this world. Senses give us so much happiness. We think that is the higher, that is the be and end in all. No, actually it's not. It is available even for animals. It is the lowest kind of happiness. If a person thinks that this is the highest, he is actually unintelligent person. Means he is not intelligent person. Yeah. So in Padma Purana, it is stated, Ramante yogino anante satyanande chidatmani idi rama padena asau param brahmavi dhiyayate. The mystics derive unlimited transcendental pleasures from the absolute truth, and therefore the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, is known as Rama. Rama means pleasure, real pleasure. The word literally means it's The ramante means real pleasure, transcendental pleasure, right? So those who are spiritually advanced, they experience unlimited spiritual pleasure or transcendental pleasure. Transcendental pleasure means not mundane material happiness. Mundane happiness means the happiness experienced between the contact of senses with the sense objects. A yogi is not limited to, is actually experiencing transcendental happiness. Such a person, how he experiences that? He experiences when he gets in touch with the Supreme Lord, or the Supreme Absolute Truth, also known as Rama. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, so there is this very powerful verse that talks about the same concept in 5th canto. Nayam deho deha bhaja viloke kastan kaman ahadi vidbhujum ye tapo divyam putra kayena sattvam suddheya yasmad brahma saukyam tva anantam. Yeah, somebody read for me. Anil Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, please read.
Yeah. My dear son, there is no reason to labor very hard for sense pleasure while in this human form of life. Such pleasures are available to the stool eaters. Rather, you should undergo penances in this life by which your existence will be purified, and as a result, you will be able to enjoy unlimited transcendental bliss.
So in this important verse, it is stated, it is stated that the pleasures of the body are available even for animals like hogs, dogs. Even for animals, they can experience the happiness that is available through the contact of senses with the sense objects. So instead, it is recommended that one should undergo penances in this life. Penance means voluntarily, voluntarily taking the hardship for the spiritual advancement. For example, somebody is fasting on Ekadasi, or somebody is waking up early in the morning to chant the holy names of the Lord, or attending temple in the morning hours. So those are all penances, means voluntarily submitting oneself to undergo some kind of hardship. By doing such penances, what happens? The result is that one will be able to enjoy unlimited transcendental bliss towards the, when he advances spiritually, when he fully realizes himself, he will actually experience the transcendental bliss. Right? So he wouldn't fall for the temporary happiness of this material world. Instead, by performing penances, he would actually experience the absolute truth and achieve transcendental happiness. So for example, you are a student and say you are studying +1, +2. At the time, you have an opportunity to go to movie theater, watch movies. You can go with your friends and play cricket and other games. But some people, some of the kids, they're focused on education because they want to, they want to pursue IIT, and they want to put in extra hours of hard work and for their long-term benefit, right? So they actually work hard and study hard, while these, some of the other children, most of the other children, while enjoying their time playing with the friends and watching movies and eating out, right? So by doing that, temporarily they appear to have been going through a lot of suffering. because they are missing all the fun of the world and working hard and studying hard. But what happens for them? By studying that extra hours during those important years, they would actually say, for example, they go through IIT and exam, and they clear it, and they actually achieve an IIT and study there. In fact, their life will be much better in the when they is when they become 25 years, they get a better in terms of material settlement. So that is long-term vision, right? Such a person who is actually doing that had a long-term vision. So similarly, when you have this human body, that is a very great opportunity to perform spiritual endeavors like chanting every single day, like studying Bhagavad Gita. These may not be appealing as much as some of the sense pleasures like watching a movie, or there are many other things you can all be doing at this time. Why are you all here? Because you wanted to know the purpose of life, how you can best use this human form of life you have. So I'm very happy you're all in the right direction. So that's the same point stressed out in this particular verse. While you have the opportunity, use it for the right cause, use it for the right purpose, and that will give you the long-term benefit for you and your family, everybody. Okay? Therefore, those who are true yogis or learned transcendentalists are not attracted by the sense pleasures, which are cause of continuous material existence. By indulging in the sense gratification, what happens? That person accrues karma, and so he will continue to exist in the material world again and come back to the material world again and again. The more one is addicted to material pleasures, the more he is entrapped by the material miseries. The more one wants to enjoy the material world keeps you in this world again and again. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. You want to enjoy? Okay, come back in the form of a dog. Come back in the form of a, okay, you want to enjoy eating in this way? Okay, come back like this animal and enjoy, right? So like that, as long as we are accustomed to enjoying the worldly pleasures, right? Unless we are really detached from the happiness that is provided by the material world, we will be necessarily forced to actually come back to this material existence again and again. So that is the key. The key to getting out of the material world is to develop distaste for enjoying the material world. We all have the tendency to enjoy in this world right now. It doesn't mean that tomorrow we wake up and we give up our desire to enjoy in this world. It's a gradual process, right? We slowly get detached, and we cannot artificially detach ourselves. What do? Instead, we attach to spiritual aspects like chanting and hearing Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam. So like that, when we develop attachment to the spiritual aspects in our life, slowly and gradually we will actually detach ourselves from the material desires and enjoyments that we have, right? Right now we may have the desire to enjoy many movies a week, but slowly as we add spirituality to our existence, slowly that enjoyment reduces. We see that that's not as a very big enjoyment, right? So like, for example, children, when they are very young, they have desire to enjoy different toys, but as they age out, slowly their desire to enjoy those toys will reduce, and instead they develop higher desires. They won't give up desires. The desire is the nature of the soul. So do not think that I can give up desires completely. That doesn't work like that. So instead, you transform your desires, which are material today, into spiritual desires. So that's the transformation we are looking for. That's the transformation we want to achieve. You see the point? So because desirelessness is not a steady state, meaning you cannot be desireless forever. That's not how it is. Soul means it desires. But because it is right now materially conditioned, right now its desires are all to enjoy the material world. I want to achieve that, I want to enjoy this, I want to eat that, I want to eat this, like that it is. But when you spiritualize your desires, you still will have desires, but your desires are all spiritual. When will I listen to the class? When will I, chant the holy name of the Lord? Just by chanting, when you are chanting itself, you experience unlimited pleasure. When you are purified. Right now, we don't have, we are like, right now we are thinking, oh, when will the chanting end? My duty is finished, like that we think. But when we develop taste, when we purify the heart, we feel that this is the thing I want to do. So that will come gradually as we continue to practice this spiritual life every single day without missing. So that is the promise of the Lord. And that is the real happiness. And when you achieve a state of real spiritual taste, then you don't need anything. You don't look for very comfortable living in the material world. You don't look for name. You don't look for fame. You don't think that you want to achieve something great to be happy. You never look for anything that is, that is material that you would depend on to become happy. You see, that's a transition in your outlook of this world. You look for always ways to see the spirituality in your life. So that will happen for all of us. It will happen. It's a gradual process. We slowly and steadily progress to that level. All you need is stick to the process. Just like if you have a fever, all you need to do, just take the tablet doctor has given you. You don't know how it works, but it continues to work. Every day take the tablet. 2 days, 3 days, fourth day, your fever is gone. So like that, we all have material fever right now. So right now, why you should not enjoy what the senses ask you to enjoy in this world, right? Right now, we are in a feverish state. When you are having fever, for example, can you eat like you are normal and healthy? You cannot. Why? Because you will increase your fever by eating like you are normal. So that is the reason there are certain prohibitions while one is pursuing the spiritual life. Spiritual life is like a curative process. The whole, the whole process, like chanting and reading and attending temple, all these are all spiritual activities. They are going to cure our material desires over a period of time. All you need to do is to just sincerely, without getting bored, just continue to do it every single day. And over a period of time, you would purify your heart and you will naturally experience distaste for material enjoyment in this material world. Okay, so that is how we advance. And just like when you have fever, you don't enjoy, or you have some other disease, you don't try to enjoy at the time, because that is not your normal state. When you are normal, when you are healthy, again you go back and enjoy the way you were doing before. But you cannot enjoy when you are feverish. Similarly, when you are currently unpurified in the heart, right? You are thoroughly, driven in all directions by the lust, greed, anger, envy, false prestige. These are the unwanted things in our heart. When you are still being influenced by these things, do not pursue a sense enjoyment. When you try to, just like a feverish person, when he tries to enjoy while he is still having fever, he is going to worsen his condition. So similarly, when we are still impure in the heart, when we try to enjoy in the material world, we will actually get more and more materially indulged, materially locked down, and will increase our material existence through that actions. So instead, we should focus on purifying ourselves first. Yeah. Any questions on this? It's a very important verse.
So, Prabhuji, I do have one question. How a yogi's pleasure is different than normal people's pleasure?
Very good question. So the pleasure of a yogi is transcendental pleasure. It's not on the mundane platform. Just like you touch a soft object, right? You touch a soft object. Immediately you feel the pleasure. You touched a sponge, for example. Immediately you felt the softness of it. How is the happiness experienced? Because the object is soft and the sense of the sense of touch is present in the hand. So that sense of touch, is a pleasure, is a pleasurable experience, right? So pleasurable experiences are always like that. You get in touch with the corresponding sense object. Tongue gets in touch with gulab jamun, it experiences happiness. So like that, every sense has a sense object. Contact of the two will give you pleasure. So similarly, the yogi, as he spiritually advances, he goes to a state of mind, okay, where he is able to experience Brahman or Paramatma or Bhagavan based on the path that you are going through. Brahman means a person who is in the Jnana Yoga platform, who is pursuing Jnana path. He experiences the touch with Brahman. Similarly, a person who is a yogi, who is practicing meditation on the Paramatma within. So such person also experiences the touch with Paramatma. Similarly, a devotee, like all of us, we are trying to practice Bhakti Yoga. So a devotee experiences the experience of God, right? When he experiences the presence of God, right? It's a real experience. It's not an imagination in the mind. It's not at the mental level. Okay, there is physical level, there is mental level, and there is spiritual level. Okay, sometimes we remember in our mind about God, we feel happy, but that is still mental experience. I'm talking about a spiritual experience. Spiritual experience is much deeper. Okay, so when you experience that spiritual experience, the tears would flow from your eyes immediately. Your the hair on your body stands on the end. So that is a spiritual experience. So we all get, and your heart becomes very heavy, and you feel that connection with the Lord immediately. It's so heavy. Anybody who was practicing Krishna consciousness for many years definitely would experience. I had gone through, many would go through that. When you are fully focused on chanting the holy name, not every time, but once in a while you get that experience of deep connection with the Lord, right? So these are all symptoms. But a person who is very advanced, he experiences that in a consistent fashion. His experience of the Lord is he's able to see Lord more often than a person like me, for example, right? I experience rarely, for example. So that is spiritual happiness. When you get that, you know there is nothing more higher than this. That all of us can get it. It's just matter of time, But that happens when you study Bhagavatam, when you deeply chant the holy name. So there is that element of serious connection with the Lord that's required. So that happiness is far more happier than, far more of an experience than anything that you experience in this world. Including the highest happiness is sex pleasure in this world. That is like nothing before this. So that is the experience that yogis get it. That's what they hanker for. And as yogi advances, that becomes a constant experience. That's called samadhi. Samadhi means constant experience of the absolute truth. So that as a bhakti yogi one experiences, as a yogi, a regular yogi, meditating on Paramatma, he experiences like that. Different process leads you to the same experience, but we try to do it through the bhakti yoga process. That makes sense? What is the happiness of a yogi?
Yes, Prabhu. Thanks, Prabhu.
So we are also yogis only. It's not that a person who is in the Himalayas sitting down and meditating on the Lord, on the Paramatma or the Lord within, he is not the only yogi, by the way. Any person who sincerely approaches the study of Bhagavad Gita, chanting of the holy name every day. So those are all yogis. Even we are also called bhakti yogis. Yeah. Okay. It's a very important verse. That's why I covered in depth. Yeah. Snaknoti haiva yah sodhum praksari sarira vimokshanat kama krodha bhavam vegam sayukta sa sukhi nara. Aranya Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is well situated and is happy in this world.
So senses always push us in this world while you are in this material body. Material body is a vehicle given to you. It's like a vehicle given to you. And just like a vehicle can take you to different places, the material body that is presented to you is why actually you have a material body. You have certain ways to enjoy, certain desires to enjoy in this world. And so by your karmic balance that you have in the past, you are currently entitled to have certain physical body with certain beauty, certain talents, certain attributes, right? So your current body is a representation of your past karma, the beauty of it, the intelligence of it, the achievements of it. All of that is a package. It comes as a package in the form of a body that you have, the kind of parentage you have, the kind of country you live in. All of that is a package, as karmic package that you get while you are living in this body. Okay, if you can tolerate the urges of material senses, material eyes want to see the different things, tongue wants to enjoy different things. In this way, all the senses are after, they're just waiting to waiting for the pleasures that they can experience. Yeah? As soon as you see it, immediately you will be drawn to it. That is how the material nature urges of the material nature work within this world. If one can tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, right? The desires are the ones that are pushing us to various things. And when desires are not fulfilled, what you get? You get anger and frustration, right? When you wanted certain thing, but you didn't get it, what happens? The desire turns into an anger and you become very wrathful. You don't even want to see that thing. And if you can control these two things, one is the desire and the other is the anger, such a person is well situated and is happy in this world. To become happy in this world, you need to actually check the force of desire and anger, because whatever you achieve in this world, you will not be happy if you don't control your desire and anger. So when Vamanadev, the story of Lord Vamana. Lord Vamana, he was a very small Brahmana boy, only like 5-year-old boy. He approaches Bali Maharaj, who is the king of the world at the time, especially for the Danavas, the Rakshasas. So he approaches him and he asks for 3 steps of land. Only 3 steps of land he asked. And Maharaj Bali thinks, how come this boy, he's such an innocent boy, he's just asking for 3 steps. He says, no, you ask for anything, even part of my kingdom, I can give you. I'm a very big king. It's an insult to ask me 3 steps. Ask for something big, something meaningful. Going to a big, king and asking for 3 steps, that's too much. You know what Vamanadev says? If a person cannot be happy in this world with what he have, he will never be happy with what he can ever achieve in the world. So the statement is very powerful. You have to be happy with what you have. If you don't, whatever you may get, you will never be happy. Just look at the case of Ravana. He had the control over all the world. He has control over everything. But still, he was always full of anger and frustration. He was never happy. He tries to achieve Sita's hand, he fails, and he's always frustrated. His life is totally of misery and frustration. He's all powerful. Materially, there is nothing more that one can achieve than what Ravana has achieved. He has the palace of gold. He has the most beautiful wives. Is all the pleasures to eat, enjoy, drink. All people are submitting to him, but he is a failure in life because he could not control his lust. He could not control his material desires, and he would get frustrated and angry. Like that, it's not about what you have in your life. It's about how much you are able to check your urges of the material senses. Our material senses keep on asking for more and more to enjoy in this world. I want a bigger home. I want a bigger car. I want a bigger, this thing and that thing. So many things mind keeps on asking. Check. You have to check it. You have to stop it, because first thing is, you come to this world naked. You go out of this world naked. You don't have anything in this world, right? You're not going to retain anything. So try to be happy with what God has already given. Okay? Genuinely. You work for, say, a company, you get some genuine salary. Of course, if you want to invest, you should invest. It doesn't mean that you don't do any investments, or you don't. You should wisely act with what you dharmically achieve in your life. Okay? We don't hanker for becoming the richest person, or more than what you really need. That's not what. If you have, suppose some extra money, you can invest in the ways that helps you in the long term. Okay, that's not wrong, but it doesn't mean that you only pursue that. Forget about spiritual life. Understand that is to help you smoothen your life. That's all. Not to become rich and to show off to the world that you are the richest, or you're better than everybody else. That's not, should not be the purpose. We should not be driven by desire and anger in this world. If you have these two, even though what you may be the richest person, we see all the richest people, they end up in divorce, and they're not the happiest people in this world. They lose their 20 years of family with children and all. Do you think they are happy? They'll never be happy in life. After losing their own children and loving wife, who what we really need is one who unconditionally loves us. That is the only way to be happy in this world. The only way to be happy is not by your achievements. It is if you have 10 people in your life who unconditionally love you, means they don't need any conditions to love you. Just like your mother and father. How do they love you? They love you unconditionally. Whatever you may be, doesn't matter. If you are able to develop some 10 people in your life who unconditionally love, don't judge you, and so that is the real achievement. Actually, this is what even Warren Buffett said. I remember very well. What you really need in life is unconditional love, he says. And true unconditional love is experienced what? By what? Actually, by a devotee in connection with the Supreme Lord. He can experience the unconditional love of the Lord himself. What more do you want? Right now, we are not experiencing. It means that it's a reality for such a person who is advanced spiritually, especially in the bhakti path. He experiences reciprocation from the Lord himself directly. And that love is unconditional. And when one experiences that love, that is the highest experience. You see, I'm talking about, having few unconditional, people who love us unconditionally, few hands. But I'm, a yogi, a bhakti yogi can experience that unconditional love from the Lord himself. as he advances spiritual life. Okay, so how that happens? First thing is to check the urges of material senses. This is the beginning. You have to cross over these things. Unless you cross over, there is no way you can experience higher spiritual happiness. Yeah. If one wants to make steady progress on the path of self-realization, he must try to control the forces of the material senses. There are the forces of talk, forces of anger, forces of mind, forces of stomach, forces of genitals, and forces of tongue. So all these things will force us in various ways. One is able to tolerate, one is able to control the forces of such all these different senses, and the mind is called Go Swami. Swami means one who controls, Go means senses. Yeah, such Go Swamis live strictly controlled lives and forego altogether the forces of the senses. Material desires, when unsatisfied, generate anger, and thus the mind, eyes, and chest become agitated. Therefore, one must practice to control them before one gives up the material body. One who can do this is understood to be self-realized and is thus happy in the state of self-realization. It is the duty of the transcendentalist to try such strenuously to control desire and anger. Yeah. Yo anta sukho antaramas tatantar jyotirevaya sayogi brahma nirvana brahma bhutodhigacchati. Another very important verse. Archana Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. One whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward, is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the Supreme, and ultimately he attains the Supreme.
So for the yogi, the happiness is not now outward. Right now, how do we experience happiness? We experience happiness by eating, by watching, by all the senses coming in contact with sense objects. This is the experience of happiness. But now for a yogi, he is not outward, meaning it doesn't mean that he doesn't see outside things. He sees outside, but he is numb to the pleasures of the material world. Means he is not really, even though he is experiencing, he does not take part or he does not delight in those things. So how his experience is turned in, right? For example, it is like, I shared this thing before, but I'll repeat it. The soul right now is experiencing the world outside through, so we have the soul and the mind and the physical body and the senses, right? So the soul is outwardly looking now, it is seeing the world through the mirror or the lens of the mind, right? If the mind is contaminated, means it has all these unwanted desires like enjoying in various ways. Then the mind is contaminated. It is trying to enjoy the sense pleasures through using the physical senses, right? Soul using the mind, experiencing the world through the physical senses. That is the kind of enjoyment we are pursuing in this world. Now for the yogi, who is very advanced, spiritually advanced through the rigorous process of practice of bhakti yoga or ashtanga yoga, such a yogi, his happiness is turned inward. Means the soul, instead of turning to the objects of this world outward, it turned towards the Paramatma within the heart. The soul is now, it's like a torchlight. Now we are projecting the light outward like that. You are trying to see what is available to me to enjoy outside. But the yogi, his torchlight is turned inward towards Paramatma. Where is Paramatma? Okay, he's turning towards inside. His pursuit is all in everything he sees, even outside. For example, he sees a dog, he sees Paramatma within that. So that is a yogi turned inward. Okay? It's not a physical turnward. It's basically he's seeing the spiritual aspect in everything sees or experiences in this world. So one whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward, means his aim is not about building a better home or increasing his bank balance. His aim is inward, meaning his aim is, how do I get rid of all my material, sense gratification desires? He is the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the Supreme and ultimately he attains the Supreme. Such a person, even in this world, while he is living in this world, he can still be living in this world, but he is liberated in the Supreme. Right? So, unless one is able to release happiness from within, how can one retire from the external engagements meant for deriving superficial happiness? Right? Unless you have the taste inward, to the spiritual life, it takes time. It's not going to happen tomorrow for you. It will take time. Unless you have the spiritual taste, you can't give up the material taste. You keep pursuing the material happiness all the time. You keep falling, prey to the material gratification, right? A liberated person enjoys happiness by factual experience. See, this is not a theoretical understanding. It is a factual experience for the advanced yogi. He can therefore sit silently at any place and enjoy the activities of life from within. As I said, he can constantly be in touch with the Supreme. Just like if you want to eat a sweet and be happy, you need the sweet, right? We all need sweet to enjoy the physical happiness of eating with the tongue. The tongue needs to experience that. You have a requirement there. But if you become an advanced yogi, you can sit down somewhere. Within seconds, you can connect with the Supreme and get into a state of samadhi and experience the happiness continuously. As a bhakti yogi or a ashtanga yogi, any yoga, but that is something that we can all achieve. Such a liberated person no longer desires external material happiness. This happiness of the material world that can be achieved, through the sense pleasures, that is nothing for him. He thinks that it's like a toy, just like it, as one ages, he doesn't enjoy the pleasures of the small toys. Similarly, an advanced yogi does not take pleasure in the external material happiness. This state is called Brahma Bhuta, attaining which one is assured of going back to Godhead. One who achieves there, he goes back to Vaikuntha after this life. Right? He doesn't have to come back. Okay, so I will end the class here. I need to go out for some other work now. So any questions on what we discussed so far? You can unmute yourself and ask me. Today's topic is very, very powerful and interesting, isn't it? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So question on this, right? Like you did say that like it's transcendental happiness, but it's also possible that after all the like chanting and everything else, we may never experience that either, right? Like how do we, like, are there like people that like the Prabhus, like your gurus who have, constant experience of this, and do they talk about it?
Yes, there are many. Of course, that is how we get conviction that this process works. Whether I am there or not is up to my own progress in spiritual life. But there are countless people in history. You can study. There are many books within our literature that talk about the experience of these great yogis, starting with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, right? So amazing spiritual connection and experiences. Even Prabhupada had so many such experiences. But devotees do not talk about that. That's not the most important thing, because once you talk about that, it's very difficult to judge whether a person is really experienced at the mental level or spiritual level, right? A person who is experiencing at mental level can say, I am also experiencing spiritual bliss, but that's not, okay? A really advanced yogi, he does never talk about these experiences. He just stays silent, but when he speaks, you can see that this person is really advanced. There are many sannyasis who you can really feel, really these people are far advanced. And you can, by their words, you can see that, they are coming from the depths of the heart and depths of the realization. You can clearly see that these are very highly self-realized souls. For example, I send the video links of His Holiness Radhana Swami. You can actually hear his lectures online in YouTube, Radhana Swami. Hear his lectures, you can clearly see that he's very deep within, and that is possible because he's very advanced spiritually. He's he advanced to that level, and all of us can experience that. It may not be equal for everybody. Just like everybody is not equally materially right in this life. One achieves $100, some other achieves $10 only. Like that, everybody has certain based on their their seriousness in spiritual life, their achievement is defined. At this stage, we may not have any level of experience, frankly speaking, but it's a long-term goal. Okay, our current experience is not the judgment for what we achieve in the next 20 years or 30 years. So we are all in the beginning stages at this point. So as we advance, we will, the conviction is that we all get there. Okay, that is the real motivation. That is the real motivation. That we continue to do spiritual life seriously. It's a lifelong pursuit, and everybody will achieve that. And even if you today go chant the holy name sincerely, here with full attention, just do for 20 minutes of continuous chanting, you definitely experience some aspect of it. That depends on how seriously you practice every single day. Okay?
It makes sense. Thanks, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Haribol.
Haribol.
Yeah. Nitin Prabhu, you want to add anything?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So thank you, Prabhu. It's a wonderful class, and I think Mataji's question was also many times comes to many people's mind. It used to come to my mind that is this really process works? And it is actually, we are learned people. We learn the material science more. So we kind of talked about material science, and we talked about experiment, and we talked about how I'm going to experience this. So this is all about our own experience, our own science, and we have a science proof in spirituality by reading Shastras. And Shastra talks about different level of progression for the devotee in the further books of the Nectar of Instructions, Nectar of Devotions. So those are the books that Prabhuji is going to teach us, and they talked about the different level as we progress in our devotions, what we would expect to see and happen to us. But when pure devotee devotional service, what I hear is when one gets it, people turn inwards. So when they turn inwards, you don't speak to the world, right? Because you are turning inwards. So you talk to Paramatma, you talk to Krishna. So hence people don't speak about it. And also Prabhu said, right, in material world, when we speak, people laugh at it. Oh, I see Krishna. Are you joking? Or you're kidding? Because people don't believe that Krishna exists because they don't see them on their material eyes. And our material eyes are faulty, right? Because we cannot see even more than like a 200 feet. Forget about Krishna, right? So the spirituality, we cannot see our soul. So how can we even see super soul? So we have to understand the difference, subtle differences, the material differences and spiritual differences. Once we see that, it just becomes a clear that the path is there. It's just that we need to trust and walk on.
Yeah.
And when we hold the path with the firmness, then experiences happens. Otherwise, what happens is my experience, I'll tell you that I used to hold path on experience with firmness, and I started making more progress. I started believing and I started chanting well. The moment my firmness goes away, my chanting fell off. I used to think more material activities than spiritual, and I used to question, does it really work? because what happens is it is our own illusion that is asking those questions. Does it really work? It is-
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, Prabhuji, you're so right, right? Like if I also notice the same thing, right? Like if I continuously chant, if I do the puja and prayers, like everything continuously, if I do with conviction, like there's definitely a difference. And then you yourself, like when you lag behind in your mind, you are conscious of it. You're like, I'm falling down. Like I'm not doing this, or so
No,
many things are pulling me in different directions.
Maya always plays the role here. So we have to take a firm shelter of a Guru and Shastra. Like Guru for us is Srila Prabhupada here. And from Brajakripa Prabhu, we have to hold his hand and says, Prabhu, I am facing this Maya as a difficulty. Please guide me. And
Mhm.
hold the hand of Srila Prabhupada's books. That's the best one can always do when it gets illusion, because Shastras can guide you, right? Otherwise, we don't have capability to see things.
Mhm.
Very good point, Prabhu. Thank you for sharing those.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
So like Prabhu mentioned, so we all advance. So it's a very scientific process. The process is very scientific, and we all go through the stages. Actually, the stages are very well defined in the other advanced books. Bhagavad Gita is only like beginning book, by the way, just to clarify you. It's a very, very, very beginning book. So in Nectar of Devotion, we discuss the stages of devotion. The stages of devotion begin with Adav Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Anardha Nivritti, Bhajana Kriya, Anardha Nivritti, then Nishta, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, Prema. The highest is Bhava and Prema. At those stages, one would continuously experience the Supreme Lord all the time. Okay? So continuously he would experience the Supreme Lord all the time. So it's a very scientific process. It's very well defined what are the characteristics of a person in Bhajana Kriya or in Nishta. And when he gets to the next level, what are his experiences? So when we, like Prabhu said, when you don't really seriously practice, you feel, hey, does it really work? And all of us go through this. Even I went through it so many times, ample number of times. As soon as I become a little bit reluctant and focused on my job and so many things, and I don't chant sincerely, I feel like, hey, does it really work? Then I remember, hey, last time I went to Vrindavan, I had such experience. I could really see Krishna's presence, and then I remember my old experiences. Hey, this really works. My mind is now tricking me. The illusion is tricking me. Like that, right now you're in a very early stages. It's more often than not you feel that you are not really, does it really work? Does really Krishna exist? Is all this Bhagavad Gita right? So many such questions come because of lack of our faith. Our firm conviction hasn't really been there. It's like our bhakti is like a very small tiny bija, like a plant, right? At this time we need to nurture and protect it, by not pursuing too many other paths. Like there are so many other spiritual paths. If you keep pursuing different things, you get confused. Hey, does it that work better or this work better? Like that, there are we need to limit our scope of pursuit, and with conviction follow one path. And what is the real thing to be convinced about? There are so many saints in the path who have practiced this path and succeeded in their life. So that is giving us conviction. So many gurus, so many yogis in the past have pursued this path and have succeeded in life. Right? Bhakti path is, for example, even so many famous people like Meera Bhai, or Ramadas. So many saints in the past have have gone through this path, and Tyagaraj, like that. There are so many people who have, very famous people who have gone through this path and succeeded. Why wouldn't we succeed? We will also succeed. We just need to hold the paths to with sincerity and seriousness, right? And take shelter of Guru, and take shelter of Lord. Then success is guaranteed. And if we don't achieve perfection in this life, Krishna says, Sukhinam Srimatam Dehe, you will get a higher birth in the next life, where the path to spirituality is easily open. Ideally, we want to achieve perfection in this one life. You don't want to postpone it for next life. But unfortunately, if you don't achieve, because you have chanted in this life, because you have pursued spiritual life seriously, because you attended Bhagavad Gita classes, Krishna will count all of that. And if you have done 60%, you will start with 61% in the next life. But you will continue from 61. You won't go back. That is
Hare
the-
Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah.
This is Rashmi. So the question is like, if we are not seeing progress, but we are still chanting and doing prayers,
Mhm.
the way I was thinking is, if I don't even do that, I can roll back. Like
Yeah,
it
you
can
can
get
go down.
worse.
Yes, that's true. Your material desires will increase and your anxieties and stress levels will go up. Yeah, you may not see. Our mind has certain capacity to understand whether you're really progressing. How much, what is, our mind is not a judge. Just like when you take a tablet, the first 2 to 3 days, you won't really see any reduction in your fever or your, health issue. But what do? You put your trust in the doctor and continue the course. The course may be for 10 days or 1 month, but you would continuously every single day take the medicine. Do you or not? You will take, because your faith is in the doctor, not in the experience. Your experience, you have no experience. Your fever is first initially, actually it may get worse actually, right? For example, you have your home is fully dusty. You started cleaning the home. Do you experience more dust in the beginning or less? As you start cleaning, what happens? All the dust falls on you. Your experience is worst actually. So similarly, it is the experience of many spiritualists that in the beginning, as they start practicing spiritual life, their material desires will increase even more than what they were before. Your lust and greed were even more than it was before. People wonder, is the spiritual process working or not? It is actually working. It's a proof that it is working. But you
But
still.
what about karma, Prabhuji? Like karma and prayer, if they're going hand in hand,
Yeah, if they
then
go hand in hand, it will go down slowly, right? So that's how it works. But suddenly you may feel, hey, looks like my material desires is not going away. How come this is happening? You may wonder like that. But that is the process of cleansing. If you cleanse, all the dust falls on you. You experience more dust. You see? So the main thing, the main key point is have faith in the process and pursue it sincere with all your heart and sincere. In due course of time, you will progress. That is the promise of Lord. That is the promise of Acharyas. That is the promise of all the past saints. Stick to it. It is the process that works. Do not judge it. Keep your effort to your best of your ability. Okay? We'll end here. I need to leave now. Okay? Thank you all.
Thanks, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Prabhuji,
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you.
thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you very much.